Hi, it's Tom from Lone Horizons, and welcome back to our extended How to Play Scarlet Heroes playlist. And today we are continuing with our campaign report format for Tales from the Skieg River. We're going to go over how I played through the second of this trilogy of adventures using Scarlet Heroes to play it solo. And before I forget, basically, I just wanted to show you this section of the Scarlet Heroes rulebook here and just point it out because it's really useful. Where is it? Converting existing material, page 24. If you have a look at this shows you one of the purposes of Scarlet Heroes is to allow GMs to easily assimilate material originally intended for use with other games. Almost any game that uses the traditional concepts of hit dice, classes, hit rolls on 1d20, and attacks that inflict damage against hit points can be played with the Scarlet Heroes rule set. So it's basically any OSR game, more or less. I haven't read every OSR rulebook, but I would guess that almost all of them could be used with Scarlet Heroes. And I'm not going to read the whole section out, but it just basically shows you how to do it. So it's like if you cast Magic Missile and from D&D, say, or Old School Essentials, a Magic Missile does 1d6 plus 1 damage, you would roll a d6, add 1 to it, and then get the number from this side of the damage table, and then convert it that way. It tells you things like that, and also what to do if like a spell or an attack always does a set damage amount, like 10 hit points damage or something like that. It has conversion rules for that as well. So I just wanted to point that out because if you're doing what I'm doing, that's a really useful bit of the Scarlet Heroes rulebook. So thanks for watching the first part. If you are one of the people that did it, seems to have done really well on YouTube in its first week, like much better than my videos normally do, which is great. I'm not going to just switch over to doing campaign report videos for all my series. I still enjoy playing solo RPGs in real time, on camera as actual plays. It's really fun, and I am carrying on with the Dungeon Crawl Classics one and the 2d6 Dungeon one that we've got going on as well. But I just wanted to say thanks for all the comments. Like lots of people leaving really nice comments on it. Mark Tattersall 9149 says, always good to see Scarlet Heroes material on the channel. I've got a Conan adventure that I want to play with Scarlet Heroes, and this video might prod me at last into taking the plunge. Yeah, I can imagine the sort of sword and sorcery stories of Conan would work really well with this. I don't know the Conan RPG. I think there may be 2 of them now. I'm not sure. But if it's anything like, Conan the literature character, I think you would definitely have a lot of fun slashing through hordes of enemies and getting cut up but healing and surviving and things. I think it would be a really good choice. And thanks as well to Roberto Marcarini, who you'll see is the designer of Tales from the Skieg River, who left a really nice comment as well. But anyway, I just wanted to point that out and say thanks. Let's see, I have attempted to use this Scarlet Heroes character sheet, as someone suggested after the last video, because it's another official one. There are like 2 official ones, and you get more space on it for things like gear and treasure and stuff like that. So I've done it, but I've already filled up the gear and treasure section, unfortunately, and I've been forced to use the back for some things as well. So I don't know. I think what I just need to do is make my own one on the computer and print it out, and print that out whenever I need it, and have my own special customized Scarlet Hero sheet. Anyway, I don't want to spend too long. I always do these really long intros to videos. Sometimes they go on for like 20 minutes, and I'm trying to cut down on them a bit, because if you're a regular viewer of the channel, you're probably used to it now, and maybe that's part of the reason why you watch them. I don't know, or you just endure them. But if this is the first video you've watched from Lone Horizons, you might just your patience might just wear out. And I wouldn't blame you if you just clicked away and went and watched, I don't know, some Ginny D video or whatever you people like watching. But so we did Raiders of the Black River. The second one is the Tomb of the Broken Emperor, and this is a bit of a bigger dungeon. It is just a dungeon adventure, and I think that's something I wanted to say today as well. If you are planning on doing this, I would recommend getting a free or very, very cheap like old school style adventure online from Drivethru RPG or itch.io, and just running that, maybe with like a little village scene at the start like the first one did, because it lets you do a little bit of solo role playing, meeting NPCs and things like that, but you're not gonna end up rolling on endless oracles and being sent off on a million side quests before you get to the main meat of the adventure. So yeah, in the Tomb of the Broken Emperor, you basically you find this military outpost, and there's a dungeon underneath it, and you go into the dungeon because it's there, basically. So let's get the notes out. And just a reminder that as an experiment, I was using the experience and leveling up rules from Old School Essentials while I was playing this bit. So Beramid is now where I am now with the adventure. He is now level 3, but here he was still level 1, and I was giving him XP for killing monsters and getting treasure, like in Old School Essentials. And I think I mentioned in the first video it didn't quite work, and I actually have had more fun since switching to the Scarlet Heroes advancement rules. But that doesn't come until the next video in this series, I think, because I didn't do it in the Tomb of the Broken Emperor. So let's read the description of it, actually. An ancient entrance has been discovered beneath the ruined Imperial Tower. Members of the Explorers Guild vanished without a trace while searching its depths. Since then, every night the undead crawl out from the underground, infesting the surrounding lands. The local lord is calling for help. Okay, so we got some missing explorers who have gone under this ruined Imperial Tower and gone missing. So that's a little hook for you. Okay, so yeah, let's see what I wrote. Campaign day 15. I decided to kind of keep track of things in this adventure, like how many days it had lasted. The Tomb of the Broken Emperor. While rowing down the Skieg River, Beramid thinks about what to do. Oh yeah, because remember he failed. He failed at the first adventure, Raiders of the Black River. He can't free the village of Riverside by himself with just a dagger and no armor, because remember he was taken captured. That's not a phrase, is it? He was taken prisoner. And now he just has a dagger and that's it. So he'll have to report the situation to the authorities, right? Makes sense. After a couple of hours, the forest thins out and he sees, because he's on the river, and he sees a ruined tower in a clearing near the bank. There's a large military tent outside it with men and women coming and going, horses nearby. He grounds the boat and pulls it up the bank, then approaches the tent. He salutes the soldier outside and identifies himself as a former chaplain in the army of Lord Frenton Beasley. I think I just made that name up off the top of my head, but I need to remember that. Actually, I need to make a note of Lord Frenton Beasley. And actually, another good tip for solo role playing is keep a list of notable NPCs who you meet along the way, and see if it makes sense for them to pop up again later in a later adventure in your campaign. Our commander might want a word with you, the man says, and shows him inside. The commander is Sir Lucian Delane, so he is from the adventure here, I didn't make him up. Military Outpost 1, yeah, here we go. Dilapidated, it shelters 12 wounded and weary soldiers. Their commander, Sir Lucian Delane, offers a reward of 100 coins to anyone who stops the undead horde. He also promises 200 coins to whoever finds the ancient imperial crown. Right. Does it it doesn't actually mention that there, does it? No. Well, it just says the explorers were searching its depths. But it does have a description of the tomb here. Yeah, the broken emperor was buried in the underground after a disgraceful fall from power. Obsessed with immortality, his spirit bound itself to his skull and the imperial crown placed above it. Dren of the Explorers Guild opened the imperial chamber and fell victim to the emperor's will, who now speaks through him. So obviously that's DM text that you wouldn't read to your players if you were doing this as a group. The commander is Sir Lucian Delane, who tells him the Explorers Guild recently discovered the tomb of an ancient emperor under this old tower. They believed the emperor's golden crown is down there somewhere, but while searching, they disappeared, and now undead creatures emerge every night and roam the woods, attacking small hamlets nearby. I basically just wrote that out again in my notes because I'm going to put this notebook on the shelf once it's filled up, and I'll probably flick through it a year from now thinking, I wonder what happened to that cleric I was playing as in Scarlet Heroes, and what if I could resurrect him and his campaign, and bring him back. Sir Lucian offers Beramid 200 gold pieces to stop the undead attacks. Okay, yeah, we've just gone over that. He dismisses Beramid's warnings about the cult of the River Lord, saying he already has many responsibilities in the surrounding lands, which I think is a quite realistic thing to do. He's been sent here by the local baron or lord, whoever is his basically feudal master, to deal specifically with this problem. He's already got other responsibilities, like he's probably got a manor house in the countryside. He's trying to make money out of his peasants who are farming for him and things like that. He's got a million other things to worry about, and he doesn't care about some tiny little cult and some so-called god that they've brought into the world. It's probably just some low-level monster or something. Beramid agrees to the job and asks if the army can spare any equipment. So here, because he's only got a dagger at the moment, we need equipment, right? Beramid makes a charisma check for this. This is me improvising and role-playing as players would do, in a group game. It's nothing about this in the adventure here. So he makes a charisma check, which is DC 10. Because it's DC 10, if you remember, I think we covered last time, in Scarlet Heroes, you can set a threat level for the adventure, and then any skill checks that you make, or stat checks, whatever you want to call it, during that adventure, you add the threat level to a difficulty class of 9, and that gives you your DC for the whole adventure, unless it's related to doing something, getting one over on some kind of creature with hit dice, and then it would be their hit dice plus 9. So we rolled a 12, plus 1 charisma modifier, plus 2 for his military chaplain. I added his military chaplain trait here because he's talking to the military, and he's one of them, and he knows the kind of lingo to use and how to make them take pity on him, basically. We got 15, which is a success. So Lucian raises his eyebrows at Beramid's dagger and says, I can't let a soldier go down there like that. They give him a mace, shield, bandages, leather armor, and a torch. That's quite generous, right? But it's really just the basics that he's going to need as a solo hero going down there, realistically playing this game. First, he climbs the steps inside the tower to the top. He can see the surrounding lands quite well, but the Riverlord's temple is hidden away in the forest. To the south, he can see small villages and another tower some distance away. Put a pin in that, because I mentioned that because I've already scanned through the third adventure. Then he goes down into the basement. And so now we go into a dungeon time tracking situation. Like last time, I used the old school Essentials time tracker for dungeon time tracker for tracking turns, wandering monster rolls, and rest turns and things, and torches as well. Although I don't think I bothered with torches in this adventure. Maybe I just forgot about it. Okay, so turn 1. Beramid finds the base camp of the Explorers Guild in the basement of the tower. So that's there. See, they've even pitched a little tent there as well. A magic lantern is glowing in the centre of the camp, so he takes it and clips it to his belt. It can cast light once per day, but only to light up the area, not to blind an enemy, unfortunately. So that is mentioned in the adventure there. He also finds 5 rations and some digging tools. He takes the rations and reads some notes left behind by the explorers. Their names were Dren, Mira, Eric, and Sailor. The notes suggest there's a trap near the sarcophagi in the tomb. Rations, the way I work with rations is you just need to eat 1 per day while you're outside civilization. Like 1 ration for me counts as 3 meals, and maybe he eats breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Like he breaks up a piece of bread and some dried meat and eats it 3 times during the day, or maybe eats it all in one go at night or something like that. It doesn't really matter, does it? So I just count it as like one ration lasts 1 day. So that took 1 turn. Turn 2, Wandering Monster check on turn 2. There are no Wandering Monsters. Do we have... I don't think it mentions Wandering Monsters in the adventure. Yeah, I can't remember what I did off the top of my head about Wandering Monsters, but we will see. I think possibly it was just skeletons, because there are a lot of skeletons here. He sees a stone statue of an imperial officer in a very old-styled armour and clothing. An inscription under it reads, "Beneath this stone sleeps the Broken One. His damnation shall shroud these lands for eternity." The explorers have moved a stone slab on the floor, revealing a dark spiral staircase beneath. There it is, going down there. As Beramid descends the stairs, 2 skeletons step out from alcoves either side of him, holding rusty spears. Okay, so for these skeletons, I think I used skeleton stats from Scarlet Heroes. Let's see. So again, with this adventure, we have... God, this cable, I don't know, can you see it on camera? Oh, you can't even see it, but it's right in front of my face. It keeps falling down. I'm trying a new setup for my camera, and not working too well. Anyway, yeah, as before, here we've got threat levels in this generic, like, what do you call it, system agnostic adventure. So here you can see skeletons are 1 skull, so they're going to be the weakest. And yeah, I think we used skeletons from here. Skeleton, yeah. Armor class 7, yeah. Morale 12, damage 1d6. Yeah, I just got them from here, basically. So that's good. All right, so 2 skeletons. Skeletons in my adventuring always attack because they're always there to guard something. They're always there, you always find them. I mean, in most like published adventures and things, you find them guarding a tomb or something, and they're there to do a specific job, which is like attack anyone that disturbs the resting place of whoever they were looking after, So they're like zombies. They will just attack you instantly. There's no point doing reaction rolls. Don't know if you do that with skeletons. Let me know. So Beramid turns undead, which involves rolling a 1d8 fray die for a cleric, but it does nothing to the monsters, so he must have rolled a 1 there. I didn't make a note, and done no damage. He attacks them and crits, doing an extra fray die of damage, my house rule I mentioned last time, which kills them both. A nice easy fight to get started with. Turn 3. Right, so at the bottom of the stairs, I think it's here, right? Is it room 4? Let's see. Stairway to the underground is there. Spirals tightly downward, swallowed by darkness, leads to the Hall of Effigies. The air is thick and damp. Halfway down, 2 skeletons emerge from the shadows, armed with rusty spears. They do not intend to let the living pass. So the Hall of Effigies is 1. Oh yeah, obviously room 1. So that's there with the spiral staircase. So like before, let's put a die as a marker to show where we are. Yeah, so at the bottom of the stairs is a large room with grim-faced statues of robed men in the corners. There are old wooden doors in the east and west walls, and wide corridors to the north and south. Beramid decides to search the crypt methodically, starting from the north, so he goes down the northern corridor. So that way. That was my idea for this. He's a bit more experienced. He's going to be quite sort of slow and methodical about things, so I didn't roll a die to see what direction he chose to go in. I thought, let's give him a bit of logic instead. Okay, he goes down that northern... It's not much of a corridor, actually. It just leads to room 4, which is the funerary hall. Beramid, wandering wants to check none. Okay, this is a new turn. Beramid arrives in another large room, this one with giant pillars supporting the ceiling on the corners of the room, covered with what he recognises as necromantic runes. A large statue of Tol, god of death, stands on a pedestal in the centre, a dagger in one hand pointing east and a key in the other which points west. He chooses to open a pair of double doors to the west. So this is room 4, right? Here it says a colossal statue of the god of death with empty eyes that seem to follow visitors. And then it talks about the statue holding a dagger and a key. I like how it just says the god of death, because you could be playing this in the Forgotten Realms or Mystara or whatever world, your own made-up world, as I am. So I just made up the name Tol off the top of my head for the god of death. So now we've got Riramet, Beramid's god, and we've got Tol, god of death. So by doing this, we're just slowly building up the world, and you could end up, I'm planning on playing as Beramid for quite a long time. I really hope I'm going to do that. I mean, I don't see why I wouldn't. And so I'm quite enjoying building up this world, doing this world building as I play, not kind of, spending a whole week of evenings just making a gigantic map of a world where I'm never going to visit, even 10% of the places there. That's something I quite enjoy doing. Turn 5, right. So he chooses to open a pair of double doors to the west, which is where the hand with the key is pointing of the statue. So turn 5. This room is a library with bookshelves on every wall. The magic lantern's light reveals a skeleton sitting at a large desk, its bony fingers flicking through the pages of a book, which is crumbling to dust as it does it. Right, so let's actually read this entry. So that's the library there, room 5. Dusty shelves collapsed onto themselves, filled with mouldy tomes. A skeletal librarian sits silently at a large table. He answers some questions if asked politely. That's interesting. It doesn't tell you what those questions would be. By spending time, one can find 1d4 arcane spell scrolls and a silver key that opens the tabernacle in the sanctuary, which is later in the dungeon. And so here it lists the skeletal librarian NPC as being a threat level of 2. So we know he's tougher than the normal skeletons, but he's polite to you. So I took that on board when I encountered him. Beramid raises his mace, but the skeleton continues its work. Gladness to Bresny, the skeleton says, its voice emanating from its rib cage. I don't understand you, Beramid says, and the skeleton then switches to the modern common tongue. It introduces itself as the librarian. Beramid asks it how he can put the dead here to rest. The broken emperor has awoken. He must be killed a second time, it answers. Where is he? Beramid asks. Why, where he has been for thousands of years. The imperial chamber to the south. Don't you miss people in films starting a sentence with why? Like, why? I've never heard of such a thing in my life. That kind of thing. I don't know why it occurred to me to have him say that, but it just reminds me of like watching old films and stuff. And actually, just as a side note, whenever I'm doing solo role playing, I always imagine everything looking like an 80s fantasy film. God, I can't even think of an example, but everything looking like a film set, and the monsters looking like kind of either animatronics or people in makeup. I don't know why my brain just does that, but it makes me feel really nostalgic while I'm playing it. It doesn't make it feel any less real as well to me, which is interesting. It just reminds me of like watching films from the 80s late at night on TV in the 90s, as a teenager, I suppose. Anyway, Beramid considers calling on the power of Riramet to destroy this unholy thing, but then chooses not to risk a fight, since the librarian will probably tumble into a pile of bones when the Emperor is killed anyway, because he knows a thing or two about necromancy, being a cleric. He begins searching the shelves and finds 4 scrolls and a silver key. The scrolls have arcane magic spells on them, right? That's what we were told here. Rolled randomly on spell levels 1 to 2 from the Old School Essentials rulebook, which I have here. Let's put that over there. They are shield, magic missile, web, and locate object. He takes them, imagining using them to bargain with a powerful wizard for something he wants later on. All right, so that conversation took a turn. Beramid bids the librarian farewell. Oh, did he get the key? He did. Yeah, 4 scrolls and a silver key. I did write down that he got the key. Beramid bids the librarian farewell and goes back to the funerary hall with the statue of Toll. Another wandering monster check, nothing. Does he choose to go south to find the Emperor or keep exploring? So here, because he has been told where the Emperor is now by the librarian, you may think that is a bit like too much information for the librarian to give him. I just thought it made sense because it says he's a polite guy. He's helpful. He's not, he doesn't mind either way what happens to the Emperor. So I decided to give Beramid the choice by rolling a d6. So I made it 1 to 4, he goes south to find the Emperor, and 5 to 6, he goes east to finish trying to clear out the rest of the tomb. I thought that would be less likely than just going straight to the Emperor. And yeah, we rolled a 4. Beramid heads south through the room with the spiral staircase. And then he gets to turn 6, which is a rest turn. He's beginning to feel tired, so he rests near the stairs. Does a wandering monster check, doesn't get any. Turn 7, going south down a corridor. He comes out onto a 20-foot wide stone bridge. I'll just put this there for now, so you can see the illustration. Across a deep dark pit that takes up the whole of this circular room. A spiral staircase on each side leads down into the darkness. Beramid hears clicking footsteps and sees 3 skeletons climbing each set of stairs. Armed with spears, they advance on the cleric. So, yeah, here it says, what is that? Room 11. The Abyss of Bones. A stone bridge crosses a circular abyss. 2 spiral staircases descend among endless ossuaries. The dead no longer rest and stir in the darkness. Every 10 minutes, 2d4 skeletons rise from the abyss. And it also says, Eric's body hangs lifeless from the bridge, one of the explorers. Beramid takes some damage in the fight, but destroys all of them, sending broken bones falling down into the pit. He bandages his wounds and heals some of his hit points, leaving him with 5 out of 7. So again, I didn't make a massive thing out of the fight there. For Scarlet Heroes, I'm not bothered about listing every single roll that happened in the fight and who hit who and what, writing down 5 turns where everyone missed each other is not very interesting to me. So, turn 8, no wandering monster. Beramid notices a rope tied around a metal ring on the bridge. Looking over the edge, he sees a man's corpse hanging by its neck in the dark void. He pulls it up and finds the man must have been killed recently. Perhaps he was one of the explorers. Beramid says a prayer to Riramet and releases the rope from around the man's neck, laying the man's hands over his chest as if putting him to rest in a grave. That's it. There's no information or items on the body or anything like that. The bridge leads to a small room with a fountain in an alcove on one wall. The west wall has a large gaping hole in it, with darkness beyond there. To the south, a flight of stone stairs go down into more darkness. The fountain can open a secret door in the east wall, but will Beramid discover this? Beramid makes an intelligence check at DC 10. He rolled an 11 with no bonus. Success. While searching the room, Beramid puts his hand under the water in the fountain. That's what's described as opening the secret door in the text. And a doorway scrapes open that was hidden in the east wall. There it is. He goes through into a narrow corridor. So he's now in there. Turn 9. Following the corridor, he finds a door in the south wall and opens it to reveal a small storeroom. A woman sits on the floor, shivering and clutching a wounded foot. So let's read this about this NPC. Hideout, old and stale. Mira hides here, shaken with the bone key from the Imperial Hall. She knows that Dren has fallen victim to the Broken Emperor. Okay, so he can now get that information. Let's see. Yeah, she says her name's... Beramid introduces himself and bandages her foot. She says her name's Mira of the Explorers Guild and explains what happened to her party. The others are dead except for Dren the elf, who found the ancient emperor's skull and crown and now seems to be under his control in some way. This happened when they opened the door to the Imperial chamber, which required someone to make a blood sacrifice. Sailor dropped some blood onto a stone slab, but was then magically drained of all her blood and killed before the door opened. This is good meeting NPC because you can get all this interesting backstory that would otherwise be left unknown. Mira hands Beramid a bone key. Which she says will open the door again. She can't walk now because she set off a bear trap in the secret passage outside this storeroom, so Beramid promises to come back for her after killing the Emperor. She warns him of strange spiders in a cave further along the corridor, the size of dogs. Beramid is curious about this passage. He'll continue exploring it on a 1 to 4 on a d4, otherwise he'll go south to face the Emperor and Dren. So he rolls a 2, he continues exploring the corridor. Turn 10, no wandering monsters. He follows the passage north until it turns east. To the south, the corridor leads to what looks like the spider cave. There. He backtracks a bit and waits around the corner, then throws a stone against the wall. I like doing things like this in RPGs. 2 large spiders come out. Their bodies look mangy and rotten. Could they too be undead? Zombie spider. So I gave them thug stats from the rulebook because here they are... they're listed as threat level 1. And thugs do have only 1 hit die anyway. So let's see, what do? They have an attack bonus of +1 with their rotten fangs. They do 1d6 damage. They have armor class 8, morale 12 because they're undead, and they get a skill bonus of +1. Beramid shouts a rebuke in the name of Riramet, and one of the spiders bursts into white flames, collapsing in a heap. This is something about Turn Undead that I had the idea for just with Beramid. Every time he uses it, it will have a different effect on different enemies. So this one caught fire with burning holy flames and collapsed. The other jumps at him and bites him, but then he smashes its back with his mace. He bandages the bite. Luckily it wasn't poisonous. He heals the 1 hit point of damage. Searching the cave, he finds some cocooned rats and randomly a coin purse with 50 ancient imperial gold coins inside. That's all listed in the adventure. Turn 11. Heading north through the secret passage, he passes the sprung bear trap that Mira set off. At the end is a small bear chamber. Not a chamber for a bear to live in, but bear as in empty. There is a secret door in the west wall. Does he find it? Beramid makes an intelligence check for that. Maybe I should have made a wisdom check. I don't know. Because wisdom is about perception in this game. It mentions that specifically in the rules. And it also mentions, by the way, if anyone is a Scarlet Heroes player, in the character creation chapter, it says that clerics need a good wisdom score. But they don't, actually, because wisdom has nothing to do with spell casting or anything as a cleric in this. Unless I could be completely wrong. I'm often wrong about Scarlet Heroes, and I often get corrected in the comments. So as always, please do correct me. But in the spell chapter, the magic chapter, I don't think there is anything that says, like, your wisdom modifier lets you learn more spells or something. It doesn't say that. It doesn't say that at all. So just an aside note there. If anyone knows, does wisdom actually affect clerics in any way in this? Because I don't think it does. And I've got a feeling Uncle Kev Crawford just wrote that without thinking, because it normally affects clerics in other old school games. Anyway, Berrimid makes an intelligence check. Success. He spies an odd-looking brick in the wall and pushes it. A door opens up into a small room. There's another statue of Tol, god of death, here, along with a small bench that could be knelt on while praying to it. A small stone tabernacle sits on a shelf. It's locked. I had to look up what a tabernacle was, because I don't have a religious background, so I didn't know what that meant. And it means like a container for a religious relic or religious item of some kind. It's locked and looks the right size for the silver key from the library. Berrimid tries it, and it fits. Inside the tabernacle is an amulet with the holy symbol of Riramet. I really can't say the name Riramet. It's so hard to say. So, the holy symbol of Riramet. Let's look at this, right? Room 6. No, that's not it. It's room 7. The sanctuary. It says the tabernacle contains a sacred amulet that grants resistance to undead powers. I just decided that it would make sense if it was an amulet of Riramet himself. Berrimid reverently puts it on and immediately understands that the holy relic will give him a little protection against the undead, a +1 armor bonus. His spirit's lifted by this sign that he's on the right path. He goes through a door in the west wall. So that was what I chose to give it. +1 armor class versus undead. It just makes sense to me. Don't have it so undead can never harm you again ever, or something like that, when you're playing a level 1 adventure. So he goes through a door in the west wall, comes to the tapestry corridor, number 6. This one says, worn, they depict ancient emperors, these tapestries. The scenes grow progressively darker. One emperor holds a key identical to the one on the statue in the funerary hall. Behind his tapestry hides a lever that opens the sealed door of the sanctuary. That's where we just came from, though. So, turn 12. Berrimid is now in a corridor heading west. He sees the larger statue of Tol in the chamber to the west and notices that Tol's hand, with a key, is pointing towards the library where he found the key to the tabernacle. This corridor's walls are lined with tapestries depicting the last dynasty of emperors that ruled these lands long ago. And here I had a little bit of fun interpreting what that could mean, what it says about the tapestries. As he follows the passage of time down the corridor, the portraits get darker and more menacing, with the last one, the broken emperor, pictured looking out at a burning, half-destroyed city, while soldiers in red and black plate mail ransack it. The image that came to mind, 2 images came to mind for the broken emperor and his army. The first was Dracula in Bram Stoker's Dracula, and how he wears that red plate mail armor, which just actually, when you watch the film nowadays, it just looks like plastic toy armor, but it's really unique looking, and his army impaling people on stakes at the start of the film, and then also Vigo. Is it Vigo or Vigor from Ghostbusters 2, and that painting of him? I thought of that again, another 80s film reference. So he goes back to the room with the Tol statue, which is here, and walks south through the room he entered the crypt into, noticing the statues in the corners are that of some of the emperors in the tapestries. I thought that makes sense, right? Here his magic lantern goes out, so he lights the only torch he brought with him. I was taking care of lighting in this and torches. Okay, that's good, I did that. Thinking carefully, he's not sure what he'll be up against when he goes to the Emperor's chamber. He decides to go and ask Solution for support. He goes back up the stairs to the tower cellar and then out to the camp. The reason I did this was because some of the fights have been pretty hard, and there have been quite a lot of skeletons I've had to fight, and I literally don't know what to expect, because I haven't statted up all the NPCs and enemies in this in advance. And I thought, I really don't want to end this adventure with him failing again and having to be taken prisoner by the next bad guy, and then, just have him being this adventurer that constantly gets captured, and then that elf, I think he was called Relis from the first adventure, turning up again to rescue him and being like, oh, here we go again. You got captured again, have you? Like that. It would just be a farce. So, I did what I would do if I was playing this in a group game. I suggest that we go and hire some men-at-arms, some retainers. Is it done? Sir Lucian asks when he enters the tent. Beramid explains what happened to the explorers and tells them Dren has been somehow charmed by the broken emperor. He requests some men to accompany him to confront Dren. Beramid makes a charisma check, DC 14. This is the charisma check. I think I set it at DC 14 because I quickly statted up what's his name, Solution, and that was his hit dice or something. Or I just made it hard because I thought there has to be a reason why he isn't sending his men. He hasn't sent like all 12 or however many of them there are down there in one go already. So I rolled a 6. I added 1 for charisma and +2 for military chaplain again. I only got 9, so failed. I'm sorry, Beramid. My men are refusing to go down there after several were killed on our last expedition. They basically had a morale failure, and now they're not going to do it, and he can't force them to. He gives him 1d6 plus 1 torches, so I rolled that and got 3, and says he'll just have to do his best down there. Beramid rests a bit and eats some rations, then goes back down. He decides to thoroughly search the whole crypt in case there are more holy relics hidden somewhere. Okay, so turn 1, he arrives in the first room and goes down the western corridor, which ends at a door. He didn't go down here before, did he? Room 3. Inside are 2 sarcophagi. One is open and the other is closed. Remembering the explorer's notes, he carefully searches for traps. Beramid makes an intelligence check, DC 9. That's interesting. Why is it 9? I think I minused 1 from it because he was already told about there being a trap there, but he still failed. While searching, he steps on a pressure plate that releases a cloud of green gas from a grill on the wall. Let's read the description of this room. Tomb of the Guardians. 2 stone sarcophagi. One is open and empty, the other still sealed. Inside, an armoured cadaver lies motionless. Armoured cadaver. Oh, that's interesting. It says guardian skeleton here. 3 skulls. I think that's what it means by armoured cadaver. It just, maybe he changed the name. Oh, no, I see what it says. It says here, the floor between the tombs hides a pressure trap. If triggered, it releases a green gas from sealed vents that paralyzes victims and awakens the cadaver as a guardian skeleton. Okay, so the trap sets off the cadaver itself. Right. So he makes a saving throw against the gas of DC 11. Why 11? Trap, because it says trap down here, 2 skulls. Okay, that's fair enough. 9 plus 2 is 11. He rolls a 7, adds his level to that, as it's a saving throw, not a skill check, adds his constitution bonus, and he gets 9, failure. Beramid is paralysed for 1 combat round. That's what I decided that would happen. As he falls to the floor, he sees the sarcophagus lid slide off and crash to the floor next to him. An armour-clad, desiccated corpse gets out, holding a longsword, having flashbacks to the Draugr in Skyrim here, and then bursting out of their sarcophagi. It looks down at the helpless priest and then swings its sword down at him. Okay, so it goes first, basically. Let's see. Armoured Cadaver, I gave it veteran stats, so it has 2 hit dice, which means we can't use Beramid's Frey die against it because it's got more hit dice than he has levels. Armour class 5, which I think is chainmail. morale 12 because it's undead. It gets an attack bonus of +2 with its longsword, and it does 1d8 damage. Enemies in Scarlet Heroes never get a strength modifier to their damage. If you read the bestiary section, it always just gives you their damage as like what the weapon does. So the rusty sword bounces back up as it hits a wall of white light that is there and gone again in an instant. The amulet. So it missed on its attack roll, and I decided, that's because he just got that amulet. It just saved his life. Beramid gets to his feet, the feeling coming back to his body. He fights back and they clash furiously, but after a few moments the corpse overextends in a lunge and Beramid swings around behind it, smashing its spine at the waist with his mace. The thing folds in half as it collapses on the floor. Okay, so turn 2 of this new delve into the dungeon. Wandering wants to check. I got an encounter. So here we go. I make a quick table. 1 to 4, 1d4 skeletons. 5 to 7, 1d3 zombie spiders. And 8, the least likely, another armoured cadaver. Imagine we got that. And we got 3 zombie spiders. Okay. While Beramid is rummaging around this tomb, 3 of the undead spiders he fought in the cave come in. He shouts a war cry in the name of Riramet, and one of them is thrown backwards, crashing into a wall and falling into a heap of bony legs. He makes short work of the other 2. Again, this war cry thing, I imagine like when you turn undead in an RPG, it's not like just playing Diablo 2 and clicking on an icon that says turn undead and then some like an effect happens. In this case, he just basically, his rage of this war cry was kind of heard by Riramet, and Riramet boosted gave him a little boost and killed one of the spiders, and that was the form that Turn Undead took in that moment specifically. Yeah, so he makes short work of the other 2. They're all killed in like one combat round or something. Turn 3. Beramid walks back through the room with the stairs and out the east door. This room is a small vestibule with old moth-eaten priestly robes and a rotten wooden cabinet. Inside he finds a pouch containing 4 pieces of incense coloured black. These are magical, but he can't identify them. So this room is room 2, the vestibule. It says, if used, the black incense, if used, they render the character invisible to common undead for 1d4 rounds. That's interesting, but he doesn't know that because he's not a wizard. I decided they were arcane magic. So yeah, he can't identify them for now. Turn 4, another wandering monster after getting none for ages. When he goes back to the first room, he sees 4 skeletons marching along the bridge over the pit in the southern room. Once again, he calls on Riramet, whose holy power shatters every bone on one of the skeletons, sending tiny fragments skittering across the stone floor. Can't you imagine like a kind of explosive charge going off in an 80s film on a skeleton and just smashing it into like pieces of plaster or whatever they made it out of in slow motion with a big puff of dust? That would look so good in really moody lighting, like maybe kind of like it's all blue and orange lit really, really kind of dimly. The other 3 fight relentlessly, and Beramid receives 2 spear wounds before he can destroy them. He sits on the stairs and bandages his wounds. His current hit points are now 3. I've made a note of that because it's so low. Turn 5. Beramid flinches in pain as he gets up. He has no choice but to retreat and try to rest in the military camp. He climbs the stairs slowly. I think that was a good idea here. No point, in an old school RPG, no point pushing on and just hoping for the best. So, back at Lucian's camp, the soldiers allow him to rest on a cot until his wounds have healed. This takes 2 days. During that time, he eats his own rations and shares the army's water. Is he able to talk some of the men into following him into the tomb? Why not give him a chance to do that here? On campaign day 18, Beramid makes a charisma check, DC 11. He rolls 13, adds his 1 charisma and his +2 military chaplain trait. He gets 16, a success. He's able to convince 2d4 hit dice of soldiers to join him. I just decided that off the top of my head. And so he gets 3 hit dice worth. 3 soldiers volunteer to join Beramid on his next expedition. They carry light spears and wear scale mail. He also buys 3 flasks of oil for 3 silver pieces from the camp's supply manager. I statted them out as, I can't remember what they were, I think just normal like soldiers from this. I'm not going to like go and search for it, but because you get the idea by now. But I think they're just 1-hit die soldiers, human soldiers. Then they head down the stairs in the tower cellar together, down there. Beramid wills his magic lantern to light up since he can use it again now. This allows him to hold his shield again, making his armor class 6 or 5 against undead due to the Amulet of Riramet. I've got his lantern clipped to his belt. I allow my characters to do that. Turn 1. Beramid and the soldiers walk south from the first room, where they encounter 4 skeletons marching up the stairs from the pit, because remember this happens every 10 minutes. Well, I guess it happens every 10 minutes that someone is in the dungeon, because otherwise the whole place would just be completely full of skeletons. Actually, maybe it should be. Maybe I've misinterpreted what Roberto, the designer, intended. Maybe the longer you spend in the dungeon, the more it just fills up with more and more skeletons. That would have been really cool. That would have been fun, because he would have to kind of figure that out and try and do something about it, like maybe somehow destroy the staircases so that they couldn't get up there. I think I missed out on this, and that's really interesting, isn't it? If I hadn't made this YouTube video, I wouldn't have realised that. So yeah, here it says every 10 minutes, like something like 1d6 skeletons come out. So yeah, that's really funny actually that I missed that. And now that's why they keep coming out at night, like spilling out, because they're filling up the whole tomb, and they just spill out up the stairs into the overworld up here, and Lucian's men have to smash them up. All right. There's 4 skeletons marching up the stairs. The men fight bravely, but one is run through by a skeleton spear and falls into the pit. Turn 2, Wandering Monster check. Encounter. Again, an encounter. They have no time to mourn their brother, for they are attacked by a zombie spider from the pit. Luckily, a rebuke from Beramid blasts it over the edge, never to be seen again. That was Turn Undead. Turn 3, they head south into the room with the fountain and secret passage, then go west into a large cave that Beramid hasn't yet explored. There is a deep underground pool here, but no one wants to try diving in. That's here, yeah. After a careful search, the 3 men go south down a flight of steps in the fountain room. So that's down these steps, and that there is the Imperial Chamber. So they can't get in yet. They've got to go through the door that they've got the key for. So turn 4, no wandering monster. Here they find a great stone door. A shriveled corpse is here, presumably the explorer sailor whose blood was completely drained in order to open the door. 2 warrior statues flank the door, looking like the soldiers in red and black plate mail in the tapestries. Beramid searches sailor's body. I'm adding some treasure here because there's not much treasure in the adventure. That's my one criticism that I've got of this trilogy. There's almost no treasure. So if you ran this in Old School Essentials, your players or player wouldn't really get much XP at all, because you don't really get much XP from killing monsters in OSE or Old School D&D. You get most of your XP from treasure hoards. So that is something, if you're watching this, Roberto, and you do a second edition of this ever, you might want to just roll on some treasure tables and add it in, unless maybe you had a specific reason why you didn't do that. You can let me know in the comments of this video, maybe. All right, I've completely lost my place. Oh yeah, adding in some treasure. I decide to use the Scarlet Heroes table, Scruffy Bandit's Purse. So that is a really common treasure table that you will roll on a lot when you play Scarlet Heroes. Oops, gone past it, I think. Yeah, so H2, Scruffy Bandit's Purse. This trove is 1d6 gold pieces with a 25% chance of 1 cheap jewellery and a 5% chance of 1 costly jewellery. So he finds just 3 gold pieces in Sailor's purse. Berrimond takes the bone key from his backpack, but then has an idea. He heads to the secret passage up there to grab the bear trap set off by Mira. Turn 5, Berrimond passes Mira's hideout. Is she still there? I roll a d6. On a 1 to 4, I'll say no. On 5 to 6, yes. It's likely she's not there because he bandaged her foot, and we got no. So Mira has now gone from this adventure and won't be seen again. Turn 6. No wandering monsters. They pick up the bear trap but have to sit and rest for a bit before continuing. That was a rest turn. Turn 7. The party moves back through the secret passage down there. Turn 8. Wandering monster check none. Arriving back at the door to the broken Emperor's tomb, Berrimond sets the bear trap down in front of it. The men retreat back up the stairs, up there, and Berrimond turns the bone key in the lock, then follows them up. Turn 9. Right, so they're up there at the top of the stairs. Dren emerges from the tomb, the elven explorer. In his right hand he holds a longsword, and in his left a skull wearing a golden crown. Its eye sockets give off a pulsing red glow. So, here's the stats for Dren possessed. Let's see. The Broken Emperor, his threat level is 4 skulls here. So I've made him 4 hit die monster, giving him a +3 attack bonus. I think I just made this up myself. 1d8 damage, 7 armor class, morale 12. He will never fail his morale checks. +2 skill bonus and move of 40 feet like a human in this. The sweating, pained-looking elf steps toward the bear trap. So I have him make a dexterity check. And when you get an enemy to do this, you just use their skill bonus as their dex modifier or whatever stat you're making them roll on. Difficulty class is 11 because the traps are difficulty class of 2 skulls in this. So he rolls 8, adds his 2 dex bonus, gets 10 failure. We roll a 1d8 damage die for him, and we get 1 damage. So he puts his foot into the trap, but manages to pull it out just as it goes off. So the serrated metal cuts him but doesn't hold him in place. Each round, Dren will get to make a hard DC 13 wisdom check to break free of the Emperor's control. I decide this is fair as he's an elf, and in this world, elves are a little bit magical. You know, they're not just another race of people that act like humans and stuff like that. They're seen as kind of these fey creatures who are a bit mysterious and stuff like that. So I'm giving him a special ability to try and break free of this possession that he's suffering from. Dren advances up the stairs, but Berrimond lights an oil flask and throws it down. It smashes on him, engulfing him in flames. He drops the skull and falls down the stairs on fire, landing in a crumpled heap. Berrimond actually got a crit here and took him out, which is quite funny. So he was a 4 hit die creature, the hardest creature that he's faced so far, and he's just killed with a crit. The skull bounces down the stairs and the cleric leaps after it. As he advances toward it with his mace in hand, he begins to hear a strange whispering somewhere in his mind, but he's a Scarlet Hero and can easily resist it. He brings his mace down on the skull, smashing it to pieces. The crown pops off it and he retrieves it. The 2 surviving soldiers cheer, but almost immediately there is a rumbling sound and the walls start to crack. The whole place is caving in. They must all make an easy dex check, DC 9, to avoid rubble landing on them. They all succeed and escape from the tomb. As they leave the ruined tower, it collapses, sending soldiers running for cover. Berrimond shoves the Emperor's crown into Solution's hands and tells him what happened. Solution thanks him, handing over 300 gold pieces for retrieving the crown and destroying the Emperor. Not wanting to hang around, Berrimond says a short prayer to Riramet and gets back in his boat, which he sails on down the Skieg River. Adventure complete. And here is where I listed all the stuff about how much XP he gets based on the OSE rules, but we're not going to cover that. So that is NA. Now that we changed the advancement rules, okay? So that was the second adventure completed, and I really enjoyed that one. Again, my only criticism is it could have more treasure, although you do get a big lump sum of gold pieces from solution at the end, so that's something at least. But again, if this was OSE and you had 6 players, that would be 300 gold divided by 6 of them, so they would only get 50 XP each for that treasure. So if it was me, I would definitely roll up on some treasure tables in your RPG of choice if you were running this in that system. That was a really fun outing for Beramid. Something I started doing on his character sheet, I started tracking how many enemies he had defeated in his career so far. So let's see, this is some spoilers for the next adventure, but Riverlord cultists times 20, 13 skeletons, 6 zombie spiders, 1 armoured cadaver, and Dren, the possessed elf. And here I always write MPEV, which stands for Most Powerful Enemy Vanquished, which is from Baldur's Gate, the old game. Because I just like to keep track of like what my character's most powerful enemy they destroyed was. And for him, it's definitely Dren, the possessed elf. And I write 4 hit dice there just so that I'll know when he kills something that is harder than that. So that was a really fun little adventure to play through. I'm really enjoying playing Scarlet Heroes, and I'm really enjoying playing as a cleric, as you can probably guess, because they get the best of both worlds, really, don't they, in RPGs? They get to wear armor and wield weapons and fight, but they also get to cast spells as well, and they can cast any spell they want as long as they pray for it the night before. They don't have to go out searching for spells written in old dusty books like wizards do. And as a single lone adventurer, I think if you were playing as a wizard in Scarlet Heroes just by yourself, I think it could get quite tough because you have hardly any hit points at level 1 as a wizard. Clerics get a few more, fighters are even better. And you can actually see here, later on, I did level him up with a level of fighter, actually. And currently, where I'm up to at the moment in the campaign, this is a spoiler for you, he's actually a level 3 character, and he's got 2 levels of cleric and 1 level of fighter, because there are rules specifically for multiclassing in here. So that is that. So to let you know what's going to happen next, right, with this series, the third adventure is Hunt the Abomination, and I'm currently playing that at the moment. But in between these 2 adventures, I ran Beramid through a really short dungeon adventure, going by the Scarlet Heroes rules for generating solo dungeons, and that was really fun, and it was called The Broken Fort. So that is going to be a kind of interlude in the trilogy in between adventures 2 and 3. So it's like Shadows of the Empire in Star Wars happens in between episodes 4, 5 and 6. God, I always got that wrong, even as a massive Star Wars fan. Next video is going to be The Broken Fort. It's not going to be Tomb of the Broken. It's not going to be Hunt the Abomination. But I hope you enjoyed this video. So for now, I'll say thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.